Hello. You're listening to No Limits, a PlayStation podcast, and on this episode, Jim Ryan thinks I'm inadequate and you are too. Woohoo! Hello, everyone. My name is Taylor, and I'm joined by my co hosts, Brianna and Sam, and you're listening to No Limits, a PlayStation podcast. Remember, you can find this podcast over on youtube.com/SaveTheGameMedia every Tuesday, and while you're over there, make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you'd rather listen to audio, we are on all your favorite podcast services, and would love it if you could drop us a 5-star review. It helps the algorithm and helps us grow. And if you'd like to interact with us more, including sending in questions, please join the Discord with the link down below in the show notes. If you want to support us and get early access to all Save the Game Media content, head over to patreon.com/SaveTheGameMedia and choose the tier that is right for you. Just like our current patrons, Bucky Blue, Hopple, Alpaca Tom, SAZ, Fabulous Brianna, Brianna's mom, Brianna's brother, Brianna's wife, and our new patron and former co-host of Project X Talk, current host of Frame by Frame, Aman. Please go to patreon.com/SaveTheGameMedia once again. Link is in the show notes. And speaking of the Patreon, a couple of things. One is later today, at the time of this recording on September 11th, we will be recording the first episode of Save the Game Boy, a Nintendo podcast for Patreons exclusive only. So, yeah, if you are a patron, look forward to that, and that'll be up within the week. And if you're not, maybe throw a buck our way and check it out. And also, we are doing a God of War Ragnarok giveaway. To enter, tweet us or show us in the Discord that you are subscribed to our YouTube channel, or review No Limits with a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. You get one entry for each of those things, offering non-patrons a maximum of 2 entries into the giveaway, and patrons earn double entries for each action. So patrons can get a maximum of 4 entries. So have at it, and at the end of the giveaway, Kevin, aka the Muffin Mom, will spin a wheel, and whoever it lands on will win the game according to the number of entries you have. So that should be fun. And with that said, Brianna and Sam, not Ethan, but Sam, what you guys been playing?
Only 2 things this week. With the PlayStation Plus monthly games refresh, I dove headfirst into Toem.
I need to redeem those.
It is a wonderful little game. I legitimately, from start to finish, platinumed it in under 3.5 hours. So it's very, very short, very sweet, but really enjoyable. Very nice art style, sort of almost 2.5D. It's kind of like, I always have to rephrase this because it's a different title in America, but Where's Waldo? Is that correct in America? Because it's Where's Wally here. And then
really?
Waldo, because Waldo is the guy in the black and the yellow for us. But is Waldo the guy in the red and the white? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So that's Wally for us, and Waldo is like his evil twin brother in the black and the yellow. So it's kind of like that as well, where you're just going around taking photos, and you kind of have hints that suggest certain areas in the environment or certain objects or things, and you have to seek them out and take photos. Very, very nice. The other thing I've been playing is up on screen. I mean, it's kind of overexposed because of the light, but Disney Dreamlight Valley. I am covering it currently for IGN. I can say that now out in the open. It is formally entered early access. I spoke about it quite at length on episode 100 of Project X Talk, which you can go check out. But in short, I'm loving it. It's really good. And this is coming from somebody, as I said to you before the show started, Taylor, I'm not somebody who really has ever gotten into Animal Crossing. The concept of the game has always been alluring to me, but it's never quite managed to grab hold of me. But there's questing in Dreamlight Valley, which means that you constantly have new, fresh objectives. And obviously there's the sort of Disney hook that can latch into you with some of your favorite characters. So it's really, really fun. You do have to pay currently to get in. It will be launching free to play at some point, probably early next year. And that's probably where the monetization will kick in. There is currently, as far as I'm aware, no monetization in game. So that's nice to see, but I don't think that will last. Even that being said, I would still heartily recommend it if either A, you are a mega fan of Disney, or B, get super engrossed into Animal Crossing. If you feel that you can appropriately take on another game of that kind of genre, then go for it. It's a really good time.
Okay. So I actually want to jump off of that because I started playing it as well.
Oh no.
Yeah, so it's really bad for me playing it. But I did want to bring it up. Mom, I know you're listening. I think my mom should pick this up. It's $30 and she loves Disney. Now, let me sell this for you guys. Whether you're a Disney fan or whatever, or you're my mom, because I know my mom's listening.
I may or may not be your mom.
You may or may not be. I'm gonna stop there before I get myself in trouble. Anyways, music. The music is fantastic. I literally am singing nonstop. Luckily, I'm in my room alone, so I'm not annoying.
Oh,
anyone.
I want to see you stream this.
Oh God, it's bad. I don't stop singing it.
Sing.
It's because I know all of the Disney music as well. My mom and I actually have competitions where we'll like play Disney music, and whoever gets the song first, it's like those random YouTube videos or whatever.
That's cute.
And we can always guess within like usually 2 seconds which song it is. So yeah, and then I have to tell you guys the puns and the care that was put into the dialogue is fantastic. It is very cheesy, but it's cheesy in a really good way. For example, it's like you're like talking to Merlin at one point, and he allows you to pick a spell. And of course, I picked the Higitus Figitus, which is one of his spells that he uses. And he's basically is like, oh, I take that as a compliment, and it's like, that kind of care only comes from if you've actually watched Sword in the Stone. You know what I mean? Like, you actually have to have seen that to know, because nobody really uses that spell besides Merlin in Sword in the Stone. So there's just like those like small details that are really fantastic, and the music remixes are really fantastic. So many cute outfits. You can cook, you can decorate. I'm trying to get the Coco guitar right now because I love Coco and I want that in my house. So I'm having a great time. Cool. Other than that, I finally caught Tignari in Genshin. I've been simping. He's so cool. I'm so excited. I can't believe I finally got him. I definitely spent a tiny bit of real money because the event was ending in a couple days, and I didn't want to like stress. Like 20.
That's not a tiny bit. Tiny bit's like tiny bit's like 5.
I was expecting like triple digits, to be fair. So 20 is not too bad.
It is a gacha game, so.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a solid skin in League. I've spent $30 on one skin before in League, so.
Okay, you see, I will defend. I don't mind, in the context of microtransactions, I don't mind, nor do I judge people for buying or acquiring skins that they think look cool. I unironically think fashion in games and like the attire your character wears is so integral to can be so integral to your identity in the game you're playing. So like, I think it's perfectly justified for a person to go grab a skin for that much money, because if they're that attached to it, as opposed
for sure.
I mean,
it
was worth it. Or something where I stereotype you pretty hard.
Yeah, it's not like it's just like cosmetic stuff. So I mean, if you're the thing is if you're having fun with the game and you've put a lot of hours. I mean, at this point, I've probably put at least 100 hours into Genshin and League. I don't even want to think about how much time I've spent in League of Legends. But yeah, I have like tons of skins in Leagues, so I'm not one to like skimp on spending money in games, especially games that are free. So
yeah, true, awesome. I guess that just leaves me.
Yeah.
So it's kind of blindsided me. So I expected to come to the show today saying I've been playing Splatoon, but I picked up Splatoon 3 on Friday. Still sealed. I haven't opened it. I been sucked into Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Time Trials, of all things. This is a very Taylor thing to happen. I've really enjoyed a lot of Nintendo Mario stuff, Breath of the Wild recently, so I've been kind of on a Nintendo tear, which I'll talk about later today on Save the Game Boy. But I've gotten into the staff time trials on that game, the Mario Kart title for Switch. So if you listeners and viewers who don't know, and there's staff who set times for each track, the fastest they can go in 3 laps, and that's in the game's data. And you can race that staff's ghost to try to beat them. And the reward for beating all of the staff in the non-DLC tracks is getting the gold wheels. And kind of talking about what I said before about people really grinding for aesthetics, I want the gold wheels. So I started going through to beat the time trials, but it's been a fun challenge. It's very different than the normal Mario Kart grind and racing. It's much more tactical. I don't know if tactical is the word. It feels more intentional, precise, calculated. And some of the staff are inconsistent. I beat the staff by like 6 or 7 seconds, which for a racing game is an extremely long amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
But recently, earlier today, I beat staff on the order of less than a hundredth. Sorry, on the order of hundredths of a millisecond.
Damn.
No, thousandths of a millisecond. So, but it's been fun. So I'm 6 out of 12 cups through. I hope to finish the rest some point over the next week, and I am undecided if I will open Splatoon or not now. I am having second thoughts just because I'm really busy this semester, and I don't know. I could either spend money on Splatoon or buy extra bus tokens. And, when it comes to, I'm not strapped for cash. When it comes to voluntarily spending money on transportation, voluntarily spending money on a game, I think I'd lean into the transportation. So I think I'll hold up on Splatoon for now and actually end up returning it unless Save the Game Boy later today makes me regret my life choices and I open it up. But this morning I also played Metal Hellsinger demo. For people who don't know, this is an upcoming game coming to Game Pass on September 15th and releasing on PC and I think console as well on that date, where it's a indie FPS rhythm metal based first person shooter where you hit enemies to the beat of the metal that's going on. As the combo multipliers increase, it adds instrumentals on top of each other until you hit, I think it's a 16 times combo multiplier, where then it adds in vocals, and they have collaborations from different classic metal singers from around the genre. Like I think Rage Against the Machine's vocalist System of a Down's vocalist was in the demo, and that was really fun. You could tell it's an indie game. It's a little rough around the edges, but like the core gameplay is real fun. I will certainly be checking it out on Game Pass PC when it comes out in 4 days. But that was fun. So yeah.
That sounds really cool. Do they have any of like the emo scene metal?
I don't know if I'm into metal. So let me back up. I don't know if I'm knowledgeable enough about metal subgenres to tell you yes or no confidently.
Okay.
There's metal with screaming and I don't know much more than that. I listen to a lot of metal, especially when I work out, but it's usually very similar genres, like either power metal or classic Metallica or classic Megadeth. Some Trivium, like Gojira for sure. I don't know what subgenre you could call that, but I'm not so much metal that I could tell you confidently. But I'm sure there will be a song list when the game comes out somewhere that you could confirm. But I definitely recommend checking it out if you have Game Pass. And I don't think they've released the price yet. But Sam, do you know if they have?
If they have, I haven't seen it. I can't say that I've been actively searching.
I guess I asked you because I heard you. I don't know, because you were on X Talk and Kevin was talking about it.
I did. I've also played it.
Oh, you played it? Okay.
And I agree with you entirely that it is a little bit rough, but overall, I think it's going to be a really good time, especially for people who either like heavy metal or are into sort of fast-paced Doom type gameplay.
You can tell it's very inspired by Doom, at least Doom 2016, and it doesn't hide that. Like the enemies glow orange when you can close in for a melee kill and re-earn health. That is characteristically a Doom 2016 Doom Eternal feature, right?
Yeah, so, I just googled it and it's listed as $40.
Okay. Yeah, so it's more of a high score type game, at least from the demo. But for $40, I think you could make a case for it. I wouldn't say it's convincingly worth $40, maybe $30, but certainly Game Pass. If you can play it there, go check it out. great candidate to enter that service. Yeah. Okay, so without further ado, we ready to have some inadequate news coverage, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
All right, I'll start with this one. So, my buddy Jimbo, Jimmy Nutrin, Jim Bob, Jim Ryan says, God damn it, I don't want Jim Ryan. He's usually not this feisty out of the bedroom, but Jim says Xbox's Call of Duty proposal to keep the games on PlayStation is, quote, inadequate. This comes to us from Video Games Chronicle, referencing an interview he did with GamesIndustry.biz. Jim Ryan said, quote, I hadn't intended to comment on what I understood to be a private business discussion with regards to the Activision Blizzard Call of Duty acquisition by Microsoft. It says, quote, but I feel the need to set the record straight because Phil Spencer brought this into the public forum. Microsoft has only offered for Call of Duty to remain on PlayStation for 3 years after the current agreement between Activision and Sony ends. After almost 20 years of COD on PlayStation, their proposal was inadequate on many levels and failed to take account of the impact on our gamers. We want to guarantee PlayStation gamers continue to have the highest quality Call of Duty experience, and Microsoft's proposal undermines this principle. It's quite inadequate. Phil Spencer said that they would keep COD on PlayStation for, quote, several more years after the current marketing agreement with Activision and PlayStation is over. And this comes after the UK's Competition and Markets Authority over in Sam's Land in the UK said it could impact Sony's ability to compete, citing losing access would hurt their revenue and user base, they meaning Sony. Phil Spencer previously said in January, quote, I confirmed our intent to honor all existing agreements upon acquisition of Activision Blizzard and our desire to keep COD on PlayStation. Sony is an important part of our industry and we value our relationship. Oh boy. Well, Bree, what do you think? I already heard Sam earlier this week talk about it, so let's get some fresh set
I
of
thought you were going to go into your
opinions.
thoughts after that sigh.
No, it's all right. I'll prepare to be sad.
Well, I mean, this is like obviously a lot of PR talk. I mean, that's all that we ever really hear is PR talk. But there's several things here that I just like. One, like PlayStation isn't going to be hurt that much by this. I don't believe. Like I think they're crying about it, but I really at the end of the day I don't think that like this is going to be like just like awful and it's just going to like completely destroy and wreck PlayStation.
No.
So the other thing is I feel like there's been a lot of like we've been kind of trying to avoid it, but I feel like there's been like not console war stuff, but like almost like Sony's blaming Sony's blaming Microsoft and Microsoft's blaming Sony. And we've had this like going back and forth kind of for like a month or two now with just like a bunch of different stuff. And it kind of sucks because a lot of the times you see them like more congratulatory towards each other, like, hey, I saw you did this. Great job, guys. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like we usually get that kind of energy. And recently it's just been like this weird, like, oh, well, mom, they did this. Like,
yeah, because with every day, the acquisition gets closer to being approved by international regulatory bodies. So Sony is trying to pull out all the pit stops here to muddy Microsoft's case for that to happen, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I don't.
Also,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. I also the last point I wanted to say for this is that, like, with the I hadn't intended to comment, but I need to set the record straight. Like, and saying that like the proposal is inadequate and stuff. Like, I don't know. Like, it just is like it's such a weird stance, and it's such a weird statement to make. And it feels a little bit like they're almost talking to the PlayStation fan base, like, hey, well, we tried, rather than talking directly to Microsoft. Maybe I'm reading that wrong, but just feels like the statement was so weird. I don't know. Go ahead.
No, you have a point. Yeah, it's I didn't. How do I say this? I feel like there's so many better ways to go about trying to stop this than just going full on PR reality show with the verbiage. I had intended to comment what I understood to like. Jim did not need to talk about this publicly. This is, I think, a last ditch effort to. I don't know if it's last ditch, but a desperate effort to prevent the acquisition from happening by any means of trial by press necessary. But I think it was really inappropriate for Jim to say, "Oh, the proposal was inadequate on many levels and failed to take account of the impact on our gamers." It's not in Microsoft's financial interest, public interest, or company interest overall to take Call of Duty away from PlayStation. It makes so much money. So much money. Call of Duty is an enterprise in and of itself. They would be idiots to not take advantage of hosting it on other platforms, like on PlayStation. That is $60 a pop, maybe even $7 a pop in a few years that they could just cash in and cash out every day. So they being Microsoft. So I really don't see Microsoft taking it away from PlayStation. Jim Ryan knows that. Financial analysts at Sony know that. They don't exist in these. Microsoft and PlayStation and Sony talk behind closed doors a lot more than it might seem in the public eye, guys. Like, at the end of the day, they're the two huge players. Well, Nintendo's on its own planet, earning over 100 million units on the Switch. But Microsoft and Sony aren't stupid, and they're having a lot of these discussions behind closed doors, and they both know it's disadvantageous to take COD from PlayStation. So this kind of banter, I think, is just a smokescreen to try to delay it from happening. I don't think Sony's even confident they could prevent this. I think they might try to delay it. But I think this is just really stupid comments by Jim that is not a good PR decision. I understand all press is good press in that moniker, but this is really stupid way to go about it. And I think Jim needs to seriously reconsider how he talks to the public about this stuff. What do you think, Sam? Well, actually, I've got an X talk, but you can.
Yeah, I mean, I do have additional things. I will direct people because both, me, Kevin, and Ethan discussed this again, sort of at length, our opinions on it. I echo the same sentiments I did there. And to summarize for people who might not necessarily want to watch 2 whole episodes, I will say that for the most part, I agree. I would still argue that it's a bad look for both companies. Because as Bree said at the start of this, any statement made by anybody, whether it's Sony or Microsoft or whoever, it's been run through so many different PR mouths that it is vapid. It is meaningless. You should not take anything that anybody says at face value, because the whole ethos of both ecosystems has been proven to be completely false. At the beginning of the PS5 life cycle, it was all about we believe in generations, and Xbox was about, game anywhere with anyone anytime, and that's only true if you're in their ecosystem. They don't care about other ecosystems. And I think this is, it shows that Sony believes that they are market leader, which currently they are, but that they have some kind of undue, unwarranted power to exert over Microsoft because of that. And I'm with you, Taylor, 100%. This isn't going to stop the deal passing. I don't think there was ever a reality where the deal isn't going to pass. I think they are buying for time. I said this on X Talk, but I think that it could be that they are in the process of trying to, with a first party or third party partnership, to not necessarily build a competitor to Call of Duty, but that they especially have known since this deal was first announced that they would likely eventually lose Call of Duty, which I do believe that PlayStation will.
Or you think they
And the
will
reason for
eventually?
that, the reason for that is because Microsoft have a history of making financially bad moves because they can float the cost. Game Pass is only as great a deal as it is because they aren't the market leaders. I've said this before, but if they became market leaders, the price of Game Pass is going to skyrocket. They can float the cost because they're a multi-billion-dollar company. And I
Right.
think that the same thing would happen here in the sense that everything you said is 100% true. It makes financial stupid sense to take it away from other platforms and bad PR wise as well. But I think that they are looking again at Xbox as less of a console and more of an ecosystem race. And because of that, anything that can drive as many people as possible towards Game Pass, which if, Call of Duty went exclusive to Xbox or Microsoft ecosystems, it will be available on Game Pass. And therefore the ideal way to play, that is going to drag a lot of people over to those ecosystems. And I think that even if they lose money making that move, but they gain Game Pass subscribers, they'll view that as the right move. I could be wrong, but that's just my perspective.
Yeah. So you mentioned that they've made the wrong financial decision in the past
Yeah.
with regards to how they make these sorts of large scale financial choices. So besides, one glaring one is the launch of the Xbox One, Don Matrick and DRM and that jazz. Other than that, what other example for you comes to mind? Because I'm curious. The only other one I can think of is games is raising the gold price before they slashed it back down, but that was
Sure.
so transient. So I mean, actually, I don't want to minimize it, but that's another instance,
Yeah.
however short lived. But what other ones were you thinking of?
So obviously we're kind of on the precipice of Game Pass becoming like this. I mean, some would argue that it is already, but this omega force that is completely unstoppable. But as far as I'm aware, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Game Pass isn't actively profitable yet.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, that's correct.
So I think that in terms of that, like they could 100% if they wanted to today announce that the price is going up, but they're not doing that because they know that it's going to be even more appealing if they keep it at the price that it is now, and they know that they can manage that for the time being.
Oh yeah.
The other thing that I would say is the Bethesda deal. We know that there will be some stuff that will remain multi-platform, but as far as we know, any new Bethesda IP from any of their studios will be Xbox exclusive. We have a precedent set with that with Starfield. And even like legacy IP like Elder Scrolls or Fallout, that is still up in the air at the minute. And I wouldn't put it past Microsoft at all to say, unless something changes and they need good PR, yeah, I think that those probably will go Xbox exclusive as well. So I think that is a bad financial decision, taking away those megaton IP from other platforms, but Xbox can afford it, so they're going to do it.
I don't think it might be quote unquote bad financial decision, but it is so much worse of a decision to take COD away from other platforms because of how much more money it makes. Like the scale of the revenue COD brings in is astronomically higher than any Bethesda IP, even Skyrim. Okay, people who barely play games, they're playing. The most casual gamers play one of, I'm gonna say maybe 5 games. Right, Fortnite, Madden, FIFA, Call of Duty, NBA 2K, and maybe there's one I'm forgetting.
I feel like Smash would be one, but
Smash might be one. But in the non-Nintendo gaming sphere, those if you're corner like one of those big heavy hitters, it's like Call of Duty. People buy whatever console just to play COD, and that's the only game they play. They just buy their system for COD, but you don't really see that for a Bethesda title. So I guess the scope of Call of Duty to me seems it's so much worse if Microsoft takes it away. That I think what you're saying that with given their track record, could they do it? Sure, they could, and I would be surprised, but I wouldn't be terribly surprised. But I think Microsoft can't even fool themselves on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you that it is an unprecedented scale, particularly if they do decide to float the cost and take it away from other platforms. But I would argue that my point still stands, that if they can float the cost, then they probably will, because ultimately that will just drive people towards Xbox ecosystems.
Right,
and if that makes them the market leader, they make more money. And then once more people are in the ecosystem because Call of Duty is exclusive, that's when they can jack up the prices. And we've seen that before, not just with Microsoft, but with Sony, like PS5 price increase because it's the market leader. So, I mean, yeah, technically anything could go. We could all be wrong. One of us could be right. We could all be right.
Oh, yeah. Right. We're just speculating because speculating's fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I have a question then. So if they're planning on, so how long is the agreement at this point then? Like 6 years out?
I think it's 6 years. So they extended it 3 years, but there was already 3 years left. So I think it's 6 years. So PlayStation will remain on PlayStation for 3 years after the current agreement ends. And I think the current agreement goes to 2025, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So I think that's 6 years. Let me see.
So theoretically, if they did decide to, I mean, Sony have technically rejected this deal, so it could fall through. This deal, I mean, not the Activision Blizzard deal, because that will pass. But theoretically, if that deal did stay in place, then realistically, we're probably looking at Call of Duty going exclusive at the beginning of the next console lifecycle.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is they're lining it up, it sounds like, with like a console launch, because then they can launch a console and be like, hey, this is the only place you can play Call of Duty, and that's how they're going to up their numbers.
Yeah.
Because every time we hit a new console life cycle, it's like that fight begins all over again of like who's going to win this generation.
And maybe they won't put Master Chief on the box when the game gets delayed a year from the console's launch.
Yikes.
Maybe.
I mean, to be fair, like I think I said this on X Talk, but Halo as an IP is kind of dying a bit of a death right now. Like, it's not dead.
Yeah, it's bad.
But it's bad. Like the past two mainline entries have arguably been failures.
I've heard the TV show was bad too.
Yeah,
I heard
so
there was
like
nude.
I think they need they almost, you could argue, need Call of Duty to be exclusive more now than ever.
Interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I would almost argue that they could bring Halo back, though. It wouldn't be that hard.
Oh, they could bring, of course.
If they had like a banger of a game, like,
well, there's been a lot of internal talks that they'd switch internal developers working on Halo. So you still have Halo, but instead of a 343, I know a lot of people have been suggesting throw the Coalition on it, or throw another very well performing internal Xbox developer on it. Throw an id Software on it,
yeah, for sure.
So that's another thing too, that they could not take away Halo, but totally change the development and management structure of the game.
But then the argument would be that they made 343 pretty much exclusively to make Halo games.
Yeah,
and then
so then
the PR would be they take away Halo from the Halo studio. And then you run the risk of, what if the game from the other studio fails? That looks equally as bad because you've now taken it away from the studio. Mate, it's such a mess.
With the amount of studios that Microsoft has acquired and has access to now, I think they could reabsorb all of 343's team elsewhere internally without skipping a beat. But yeah, right. I've heard this in other podcast too. There needs to be, I guess we're going a little off topic here, but
yeah, I was gonna say it's a little bit of a digress.
A little bit of a digression, but there needs to be some accountability with regards to the direction of that. And it's interesting, bring it back around. It's interesting you say that, Sam. I think it's a very cool point you bring up, that they're in dire need of a new mascot for the interim, as the Master Chief isn't performing. And maybe Joe Call of Duty is the answer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy ominously glowing orange looking off to the right with a gun.
I always think of the Black Ops cover where two pistols down like this, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of actually I'm gonna not say that comment. Yeah.
I really quick, I think I want to retract. I think I would almost argue that Game Pass has to be profitable. We don't have to get into it because obviously this is like a Sony podcast, but I said earlier that I don't think it is. I'm taking it back, and I think it is, because if you think about, Netflix has to be making a huge profit. There's no way that Netflix isn't, and Netflix was running on cheaper than the Game Pass Ultimate is. And if Netflix was making profit, then Xbox has to be.
I mean,
then do you consider volume of subscribers?
yeah, they might be making profit, but
Oh
it's
yeah,
not.
for sure.
But it's not enough profit to sustain the service
For sure.
With
indefinitely.
day one and stuff.
At the current
Right.
pricing structure, let's say.
Right.
Right.
Definitely. And I think that they would look to increase prices for like all of these kinds of game passes. But I don't think that they're eating much of the cost, if any at all. Because
Okay.
like it wouldn't make sense for Netflix to be profitable if this wasn't.
I think they're eating a lot more cost. Microsoft is so much bigger than Netflix.
Oh, for sure.
So I think
I'm not saying that they can't eat the cost. I'm saying they probably aren't. That's all I was saying. Is I was
that's the
just
thing,
saying
I
like
think
after I was
not.
doing some like not math in my head, but I was like thinking about it. I just wanted to say that I think it may be minorly profitable.
Okay. Well, yeah. Now I think now we start getting into semantics where it's like technically it is profitable, but again, is it profitable to for the service to be sustainable? And the
I don't
answer to that right now is up in the air or no,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Probably not.
Right.
Maybe.
So, but it's interesting. Like, yeah. But anyway, we're on X Talk. Let's let Kevin.
Hey, if
Ethan-
they can do a Last of Us review,
yeah, but
we can do a Game Pass review.
Bree, please tell us about
Oh no.
more God of War Ragnarok information from Game
Oh,
Informer. Oh wait,
okay.
actually, do you not want to read this because you were trying to stay away?
I was trying to stay away, but I'm gonna hear you guys read it, even if I
All
don't read
right,
it
yeah, it's
myself.
true. I'm
So
sorry. It's not
no,
sorry.
no, it's really okay. So new God of War Ragnarok gameplay and accessibility details. Game Informer released a showcase. Oh my god, I cannot say that.
Svartalfheim.
Mhm.
There you go. Of that and Ragnarok's new accessibility feature as part of its Ragnarok cover story. We will be able to explore all 9 realms in this sequel, according to the game's
Yes.
director.
My biggest request from the first game was being able to do that, especially Asgard. But anyway,
I'm glad that we get to go back to Niflheim. Anyways, I know
Oh,
you
yeah.
didn't like it, but I did. New gameplay focused on the
Svartalfheim.
Svartalfheim.
as a new realm. So characterized by dwarven ingenuity and environmental puzzles. You're gonna freeze geysers with the Leviathan axe, break pots with the blades, and move Atreus to help with puzzles. Canoe makes a return in open water. Woo! I love the canoe. More variety and verticality within one realm. That's good to hear. Accessibility features, so 60 plus modifications available, focused on hearing, vision, motor skills, and cognitive understanding. For example, a bell sound for a puzzle can have its length extended for players who need the extra time. Mapping actions to the touchpad like navigation assist, Spartan Rage, quick turns, shield strikes, high contrast color palettes. You can slow down moving environmental targets for puzzles. These are only a handful of the features shown. Many more to see come launch day. I love seeing accessibility stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
Like
always good news.
genuinely like and to hear like for example with like Last of Us they had like a bunch of not excessive well, I guess it technically would be accessibility, but stuff to help when you're like super scared of zombies like Ethan and stuff like that.
That's still accessibility.
So yeah, no, that's what I was saying is it's not like
Right.
traditional
It's not
accessibility, but
traditional. It's more of a
it definitely is
privilege.
accessibility.
I guess it's more of a no, I'd still call it accessibility, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I don't know. I just love seeing that kind of stuff because it's like the more people that can game, the more people we can talk to about it and the more games that we can have. I don't know. There's just like nothing to be lost from adding accessibility. I understand that it's like a time cost for the developers, but I think that that time cost is worth it to allow more people to experience the game, especially with like a huge game like this where they have to have like a huge
Right.
budget, huge team all working on this game. So I guess it's not like the biggest of teams, but you know what I mean? Like where it's like they have the ability to kind of add this kind of stuff. So it makes me really happy to see this. So yeah.
Right, yeah. It's
What do you
also
guys think?
financially profitable, right? If you're more accessible, more people play the game. So I'm saying from all angles, it's a good thing. But yeah, because accessibility is great. Last of Us Part 2 kind of blew the doors open on PlayStation now earning a reputation for the first party games of having extensive accessibility features. Continued it with Last of Us Part 1 and Spider-Man on PC, and now here with Ragnarok. I think it's great, especially interesting with the touchpad macros is something I wouldn't have predicted, but cool. I'm also liking that they're varying their level design. And in Svartalheim and the new realms with the verticality. I think that should be fun. There were some lifts in the original God of War 2018, like that, in terms of changes in verticality. And of course, climbing up the mountain. But when you're kind of free roaming, there isn't a terrible amount of shifting in that route that I think it would be cool to explore when you're not summoning a mountain. But what do you think, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember where else I've said it, but it's one of those things where anytime I see accessibility, it's a win. It's something that I never use because I'm fortunate enough to not have to need it.
Right.
But the fact that it's there is super cool. More games need this level of accessibility options. But that's all kind of like well trade ground. A lot of people say that, as they should. But in terms of the actual showcase, I mean, again, I won't delve too much. Not that there was much to talk about necessarily, but a lot of people have been talking about this showcase of Svartalheim and being like, "Wow, I wasn't expecting it to just look like more God of War 2018."
Oh, I hate that. Give me more of it. Sure. What do you expect?
You don't want more of a 10 out of 10 game. You just don't want more of it. Whether you consider this DLC, which is BS, or not, you're still getting more of a masterpiece. So it's like, even if you want to be pessimistic enough to view it as just DLC, like that's still a good thing. It's not DLC for a bad game. Like it looks really cool. It's one of those things where some of the changes are very minor, but they are visible. And I think that it will vary up certain gameplay elements just enough where it doesn't feel like you are just playing 2018 again. And there's these little incremental cool things brought in. Wish that they'd shown more, honestly. Obviously not anything story related. I don't want to see any of that pre-release, but
I think they'll drip feed it.
Yeah, just a little bit more of gameplay, a little bit maybe more of traversal or something like that would have been cool. But it's nice to get details regardless of what it is.
Cool, yeah, definitely. And one last thing I wanted to add to it, the accessibility side is, as people who play games and listeners, if you're listening to this podcast, most of you play games. But for someone like Brianna's mom, who I'm gonna call it my podcast here, fellow gamers and players don't realize how much practice and acclimation is needed to control efficiently and timely in games, especially with real-time combat. Like there was a YouTube video I think I saw of, it was either my wife played Zelda for the first time or played a video game for the first time or something like that. And she had a very hard time of like timing the jump button correctly to get over a gap or something like that. And it's just very, very simple things, regardless of course, if you have an ailment that prevents you from experiencing games, then without those, that's one thing. But also for folks who just aren't that experienced playing video games yet and who need some training wheels, accessibility options are a great way to get them on board that we don't ever think about because it's second nature to us. So something to keep in mind that sometimes is all too familiar in this little fun echo chamber of ours. But
Amen.
Yeah. Awesome. But Sam, what are your thoughts on Jason Blundell?
Jason Blundell, ladies and gentlemen, has left Sony's AAA studio, Deviation Games. This is a third-party partnership. It's not, Sony don't own the studio yet, although I can imagine that coming in the future. Deviation is currently, as far as we know, working on a AAA multiplayer FPS new IP for Sony. For people who might not know Jason Blundell's name, he used to be the co-studio head at Treyarch, which is obviously one of the Call of Duty trilogy of developers with Sledgehammer and Infinity Ward. In light of his departure, Deviation has announced that Louis Castle is the new senior vice president in development, with God of War alumni Jonathan Hawkins and Dean Reimer joining, as well as Call of Duty Black Ops developer Tony Flame coming onto the team as well. It's a bummer, I think. Like, again, we've seen nothing of this game, so I can't quantify how much of a bummer it is. But to see basically a studio head or somebody leading development on a project leave, that's typically not a good sign. And if we're talking about Call of Duty going away from PlayStation, this isn't the kind of thing you want to happen to a AAA FPS that you're developing. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah. It's not a good look, but we already don't know. Sorry, let me rephrase that. We know so little about what they're working on that it's difficult to judge if how, quote unquote bad of a loss is that.
Yeah.
We haven't seen any original work from Blundell outside of Activision. So I think it's a little bit of a sour note, but it's, if you're really getting sad or doom and gloom over this, it's unwarranted because there's so much you don't know as a follower of this. So I'm interested to see where they go and finally have a reveal for what they're working on. I really want to know if it, is it a traditional game FPS where there's a campaign multiplayer like Coddish, or is it multiplayer only? I just want to see a trailer and learn more about it, but it's a little sad. But what do you think, Bree?
So a couple of things. One, we don't know why he's leaving. At least I don't think we do.
Right.
So that's one factor that I think.
True.
Like, we don't know if it was like there's something went wrong and that's why, or if it was just simply that like he's retiring and needs some time away from games and is like burnt out. Like we have no idea.
I think he found a new opportunity elsewhere. Let me see.
While you're looking that up, the other thing I was going to say is that like somebody that's this high up in a company doesn't just leave. So it's very unfortunate timing that the leave is being announced now, but this has to have been in the works at least for 2 weeks, right? Way longer than that. It's probably been a few months that this has been worked on. Because you don't just like leave a company when you're this high up. You say like, hey, I'm moving, I'm leaving this company. How can we transition to somebody else, kind of thing?
Right.
So they've been working on this for a long time for this transition. So I think that the timing is unfortunate for the announcement, but they've been working on this for a while, so I wouldn't stress it too much.
Yeah. So apparently Blundell has not given any word on what he's doing next. This comes to us from thegamer.com. I just looked up. Whether it's joining a new studio or taking some time off, no reason was given for his departure. So So
we don't know. So so I mean, it could have been something horrible happened. It could be just that he needs some time away from video games. That happens unfortunately a lot with developers, is that they experience like pretty severe burnout and have to step away from the industry. So
yeah, it's crunch is real. Well, we don't know if this was crunch, but
we don't know.
There's definitely a lot of stressors. People are overworked in the games, and that's familiar. But we don't know. But we'll see what happens, right?
For sure. Maybe the FPS was never gonna work out, anyways. I'm just kidding.
Oh well, that's a different story. Yeah. In other news, we have a new gray camouflage collection hitting PS5 this fall. So matching PS5 console plates, Pulse 3D headsets, and controller gray camouflage color gamuts will be hitting the market. Pre-orders begin September 15th, and the camo DualSense and covers release on October 14th with the camo Pulse headset in December. And I think these look kind of ugly, but I'm sure someone in the military will buy it.
There's people that are so into camo.
There's certainly a big market in the U.S. military for PlayStations and people who support the military. So I think this is ugly, but it'll probably get PlayStation some dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely,
ultimately, I think it's just cool that they are continuing to put out customizable, or not customizable, but customization options. Even if I think what the general consensus with all of us is that it's definitely not for us.
I'm sure you can tell it's camo seems to be my aesthetic. No, I think that this is great for some people, but where's my God of War Ragnarok freaking plates? God damn it.
Oh yeah, you should check out decals, like people who do independent decals for stuff.
My dad's girlfriend has again, we've talked about this, a Cricut machine. I could make it myself.
Do it.
I could do it. I'm not gonna. I'm mad. Look
You
at
say
this.
you're bad? Go to Etsy. Buy
No,
one.
I'm mad.
Oh, Matt. Okay.
Look how beautiful this thing is.
Yeah.
I want another one. But
Bree's
it
Bree's
was
holding
not
up her
working.
God of War PS4
PS4.
controller for audio listeners.
It's so pretty. I want another one.
I think they'd be. I find it very hard to believe they won't release any special edition accessories for the game out of the
I hope
besides the collector's
so.
edition. I find it very hard to
If they
believe
can
they
cat
don't do
carrier,
that. They what? Huh?
if they can have a cat carrier for Stray, I think I could get a controller, please.
It's an interesting.
They're still selling it. I'm this close to buying.
What is it? $200?
Yeah.
Oh my god! I was guessing.
Yeah, no, I think it's 150 or 200.
Okay.
Anyways, yeah.
Whatever floats your boat.
We're getting camo and we're not getting God of War Ragnarok stuff, and I'm just a little salty about that. But I'm happy for the people that love the camo.
Yeah. All right. Who wants to talk about 1440p?
I think it's my turn. New
Okay.
PS. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it Sam's turn?
No, it is your
There's
turn.
no. It doesn't have to be turns. Like when you
Okay.
Take your turn.
We always
Brianna.
say,
actually, yeah, take your turn.
don't yell at me, I'll cry. I'm just kidding. New PS5 features. Oh my goodness! New PS5 system software update is out. I know it's out because my PlayStation woke me up. It was like, "Yo, update's out," and I was like, "I'm
Woke
trying to
you
sleep
up? Did
here."
it wake up from rest mode?
Yeah, it like was like making a bunch of noise and like turning off and on, and I was like, "Damn it!"
Oh,
it was
yeah.
like 4 or 5 a.m.
Yeah, my PS5 has been off for an undisclosed amount of time. Probably embarrassingly long for hosting a PlayStation podcast. But I'm gonna get back
Awkward.
into Ghost of Tsushima
Awkward.
soon. But anyway,
Anyway, so we've got 1440p game lists and new social features. VR still only, I'm assuming it's just supposed to be VR. Still only supports 1080 and 4K. So
yeah,
if you
VRR, variable refresh rate.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like VR. I was like, what? Anyways, 1080p and 4K. So if you want 1440p, it's 60 frames max. Social features include requesting share screens from another party member, better viewing the friends' profiles, or quicker joining of a friend's game. I have never really like had to use any of those features, so
I've joined a game on Apex on PS5 like twice.
I used to play Overwatch on PS4, but I haven't in forever.
Okay.
So you can compare 3D audio and stereo audio on the same screen, better access in progress activities from game hubs, YouTube search through voice command saying HP just in case I don't want to activate anything, find blank on YouTube, can now launch a remote session and request share screen on the PS5 app so you can watch your friends play on your phone. That I am very interested in that because I really do love watching people play video games. I know that some people don't really enjoy that, but I really enjoy watching people play games and like hanging out. So
I don't think unless your PS5 is on and your mic is on, I don't think saying "Hey PlayStation, find blank on YouTube" would trigger anything.
You never know. There could be somebody listening to the podcast out loud and you just triggered something.
Yeah, well, it's their fault.
I can't say my HomePod.
Well, there was a
Look,
prank
it's
video
listening
on
to
YouTube.
me. It's right there. It's listening.
All right. Look,
So we gotta be careful.
there's a prank video on YouTube of a guy on Xbox One COD lobbies, and his name was Xbox Turnoff. And he was really good, and he kept killing everyone. And there were guys like screaming, "Yo, what the hell, Xbox Turnoff!" And then you can see they left the game because they shut down.
Evil.
That's really good. That's a good prank. Yeah, and we have a lot of Apple products in our home, so we say HS mostly. So yeah,
HS, I don't get it.
because it's like the activation is like for the activation.
Oh,
for
hey,
Siri.
like hey, okay.
Yeah. So we say HS a lot because we are like trying to not activate it. Like if you talk about it, because she's listening right now.
Oh yeah.
My favorite part, this is so random, but my favorite part, so my HomePod is right next to my cat's like cat tree. When she stretches her paw out, she'll press play on it all the time. Anyway,
No,
it's just
you're
cute.
good. So, yeah, what do you think of the update, Bree?
Besides it waking me up, that really pissed me off. Besides that, it's good. I mean, updates are always good. I think we've got some good stuff. I think it's unfortunate that for 1440p you can only get 60 frames max. However, I don't think it's like the end of the world because I think for a lot of time, like we've been running 60 frames, so I don't think it's gonna
Yeah,
be
I think
horrible.
I think above 60 frames on consoles are overrated.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do like about VRR is if your frame rate is somewhat unstable, goes from all jumps between 30 and 60, that's where I like VRR a lot more on the console space to make variance in frame rate look smoother.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have a 1440p monitor, so I got the 1440p beta update for the system before the official update. Now, that was great, and it's 1440p is crisp, but yeah, I'm not too. I got what I wanted, my 1440p, and other than that, I don't really care about getting more than 60 frames on a console. But because I'm saying that, but I do when I do have a PC that can go 144, so that's from a point of position of privilege. But yeah, what do you think, Sam?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think like VR is arguably the most important thing here. Not quite where people would necessarily want it to be. Everything there works for me though. Like I'm kind of with both of you that anything over 60 is kind of overkill. But even if that is the case, it's still nice to have something that can go beyond just in case for whatever reason. I like being able to switch between 3D and stereo and to test it. That's just me being an audiophile, liking to have the audio quality in my games as tactile and malleable as possible. And then the only other thing, which is kind of going under the radar, is the improvements to the in-progress activities on the Game Hub. Not something that I use often necessarily, but it's almost acting as and this isn't across every game, so I don't want to generalize, but it's kind of like quick resume on the Xbox side, where in the activities hub underneath, if you go onto the PS5 main screen and you tap down on a game, the activities will now be displayed straight away right in front of you, and you can click on one of them to activate the activity, and it kind of boots you directly into where that activity takes place within the game. So it's like quality of life things, very minor in the grand scheme of things, but it's still nice.
Yeah. Cool.
I as a PC gamer, this means nothing. I'm just kidding. I have 144. So
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's what I said.
So yeah, no, I'm just kidding. I'm not worried about this.
For the record, PC Master Race sucks on Reddit. That's all I'm gonna say. It's a bad subreddit. PC gaming is a superior PC subreddit by a country mile.
Shots being fired.
Yeah.
Watch out, Reddit's gonna come for you.
Oh yeah, I don't give a fuck. Reddit.
Come at me, bro.
I only use Reddit for two things: wasting time and finding co-hosts.
That is true. And it worked.
And it works.
It did.
But
anyway, speaking of shots being fired, it's a segue. The final news story is that we have a new PSVR 2 title officially announced. It is Firewall Ultra, developed by the same studio that created Firewall 0 Hour for the original PSVR. It is set 5 years after the original game. It is 4K HDR with remade character models. There is a map overhaul with new textures and areas, new locations and contractors, more weapon and equipment customization. Essentially, it is an improvement in every way over the original, with dedicated servers. Each match on these servers is now a best of 3 and adding new AP versus E. There is also added PSVR 2 sense technology like eye tracking to swap weapons and to bring up the HUD seamlessly. And I believe also there is haptic feedback embedded in this game in both the controller and the headset. Does this do anything for either of you two?
I
I didn't know what this game was before I put the story in, but I saw it because I didn't have PSVR. But I looked at trailers of Firewall Ultra, and it looks really interesting.
Mhm.
Having new PvE stuff is cool, and it looks like a game that I could be interested in if it wasn't locked behind a 500 plus US dollar piece of hardware.
Mm.
What about you, Sam? Did
I
you play the? Or sorry, Bree. Go
Yeah, no,
ahead.
go ahead. Did you play the original? That's a great question.
I did. Not. I didn't get into it. It was. I can't remember whether it was one of the things they did over the summer. Where I think it was where they gave away free games for like a couple of months. I think one of them had a wave of PSVR titles as well. And I remember getting it there, whether it was one of those things or whether it was a PS Plus monthly. It doesn't matter. I played it for maybe like 10 hours total. And obviously it's like essentially a multiplayer only game. So that's not really that much time in the grand scheme of things, but enough to get like an idea of what it is. It's essentially like kind of a mix of Call of Duty and Rainbow Six Siege. It's a far more tactical shooter. It's not really fast paced at all. Team based, objective based. Yeah, it was fun. I'm not going to get this. I mean, I've said before that I will be getting PSVR 2 when it goes into pre-order, both for myself, and it means that I can cover it here if we want. But yeah, no, this it does look cool, and I'm enticed by the idea of the new technology and the improvements. But in terms of the actual game itself, no.
Okay, so a couple things. One, to show you how much I knew about this, I was like, when I saw Firewall Ultra, I didn't even like read the whole thing. I was just like, Firewall Ultra, not on here, but when I first saw the announcement, like when it was posted, wherever, I thought they were talking about Firewatch, and I was like,
I never
and
played
I got so
Firewatch,
excited. Oh, it was
and I have
so
it in my Epic
good.
library, I think.
The ending was pretty bad, but
Oh,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy the experience of Firewatch.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it. I ended up playing it because school was canceled because of pollution in Utah. So, yeah, I
That's
played it like
that's
Isn't that great?
quite, ironic, isn't it?
Right?
Yeah.
I thought it was. I was like, well, I can't think of anything else better to do. So that's what I thought what this announcement was. And then, like, of course, like the Firewall Ultra, and it's not Firewatch. I was like, ah. But I haven't decided if I'm getting PSVR 2 yet. I really genuinely don't use my PSVR, but I also don't know how to set it up. But I also don't put energy into learning how to set
I
it up.
think it's just some wires.
So yeah, no, you just like plug stuff in. Like
Okay,
that's
I'm
really
saying
all
that
it
it's
is.
real
But
clunky from what I hear, but like it's not
I have the
that
original one
difficult.
as well, so it's even more clunky than like because they didn't like
Oh,
do like a second one, but
they
they
did a
like
revision.
yeah, there's one that's
But
like more slimmed down.
does yours have the like box partway down the wire?
Yes.
Right. Okay. 'Cause
That's
mine
where I get
doesn't.
confused.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's my problem is that box. It's not the end of the world. I could figure it out, but I also don't care that much. I mean, you can
Mhm.
see how much space I have. I can almost like touch my bed. So it's not that big of a deal. I don't know if I'm even going to get PSVR 2, so I don't know if this really does anything for me. The other thing I wanted to say is I really just want I want VR to be further than it is, and it's not. And I'm ready for like Sword Art Online. You know what I mean? I'm ready to like
Oh.
live that like full VR, full immersion experience.
I really want to
And
play
we are
Half-Life
so
Alex.
far away from that. If that ever even happens. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Live my anime fantasies.
Yeah, I just really want to play Half-Life Alex.
I do want to play Half-Life Alex.
And
That's
I think
fair.
like the cheapest solution I found was like the Quest 2, which is price was raised. Now it's like I don't know.
Here's my resolution for you. You find a friend that already has a system that can play it, and you say, I'll buy you this game if you let me play it.
Oh wait, I shouldn't be even complaining. My university libraries have HTC Vives in them.
Yeah,
That I can
definitely do
reserve.
that. The University of Utah had a bunch of stuff like
I
that
could
as
just bring
well.
Half-Life Alex on a hard drive and be like, yo,
Mm-hmm.
let me reserve this for like 4 days at 3-hour time slots and play this game.
Yeah.
There you go.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You may be able to also, I don't know if your like PC can handle it, but you may be able to like also bring the equipment home. I know for like the you could bring equipment home if you like
Oh.
checked it out.
Okay,
So.
maybe, yeah. Cool. But that wraps up the news for today, guys. So now we move into Limitless, our discussion section of the podcast to talk about whatever we want. And I don't think so last week we talked about with Ethan books to be converted to a video game. Did we talk about games we want to convert to a book?
We didn't. So we have that one, we have the bottom one, and we have the top one. Maybe if you guys want to talk about it, we don't have to.
Oh, we talked about it with Ethan, but I want to hear. Actually, I wanted
to hear what Sam
has to say. Are there any game awards that you're willing to make a bet on now, either in terms of nominations or more emphasizing winning awards? And yeah, and this is, let's say, restricted to the Game Awards in December with Jeff Keighley.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, the obvious one would be that Game of the Year is either going to be God of War or Elden Ring, depending on how good God of War is. I'm racking my brain of things that have come out to think if I'm missing something. No, I'm going to say it. You're probably going to mention an indie that I haven't thought of, and it's going to break my heart. But I'm gonna plant a flag and predict that Sifu will win Best Indie
over Cult of the Lamb. Ooh.
I would still say yes. I think that there are lots of things like Cult of the Lamb, maybe not aesthetically or sort of in terms of what narratively is going on, but I think Sifu is just, it knew exactly what it wanted to be. It was succinct. It was stylistic. It was a complete surprise, which I think is something that is going for it. If something comes out and you know it's going to be good, I kind of feel like there's a little bit of wow factor lost there. That might not necessarily sway votes, but I think from public perception, that goes a long way if you were kind of not necessarily anticipating something to be super great, but then it was. I think that can kind of, even if it's artificially inflating it, I think that still counts towards something. So I'm going to say Sifu is going to be the indie darling. Again, there might be something that I'm not thinking of, but that's where I'm going to go. Is there going to be something else that I could say?
I was going to ask if you have any opinions on like what best soundtrack is going to be, because I couldn't think of there's not really been any games that like the soundtrack has been like it for me.
I'm pretty sure I heard you guys mention that with blanking on his name, Bear McCreary coming back for Ragnarok, that could probably be a good shoe-in. Because I think that the God of War 2018 soundtrack is underrated, and even then, I think it's highly lauded as a very good soundtrack. Again, you could say Elden Ring, but I think arguably, as much as I love a lot of tracks on that soundtrack, I don't think anything is on the level of its main theme.
Mm-hmm.
I love the main theme, the main menu. That gets me going.
Exactly. But I think outside of that, I don't know that there's enough tracks. Not that it's necessarily defined by the amount of tracks that are memorable, but I think that it's that one song, and maybe that's enough to push it over the edge. I don't know. I might. It's a bit of a wild card, but I might say Forbidden West as well.
See, that's what I was wondering, is because I haven't touched Forbidden West, so I wasn't sure.
Like, again, not that there's anything actively memorable about it, but I think obviously they did the live performance of Forbidden West a couple of years ago at Game Awards. I think that if you hear Horizon music, I think it's relatively hard to misinterpret that it's Horizon music. I think it's got a very unique style to it in kind of the synthy, but also kind of retro, lots of percussion. I think that could get score as well. Other than that, I think it's up in the air for so many things. Like, could you say a best family title?
Disney Dreamlight Valley.
That would be my choice.
Mm,
Do I think it's going to win? Probably not.
Elden Ring. It's fantasy.
But it's not family, is it?
It's very
I thought
family
you said,
friendly.
I thought you said fantasy, not family.
Oh yeah, yeah. Elden Ring is the
Oh
most
my god! Never
family-friendly
mind.
game.
Never mind.
That'll probably be
Yeah.
Skywalker Saga,
Splatoon 3.
maybe,
It's not that
or I can't remember the full title, but the Kirby game that came out.
Kirby Forgotten Land.
I didn't get
That's
to play that. I want to play. I love Kirby.
I want to
so
get it
much.
too. I
think
just enjoy good
that could
platformers.
take
Now
it.
it seemed like a good
Because
one.
typically Nintendo dominate in that category, so I would imagine it will be some Nintendo IP.
You know what? I will be honest. I really do love Kirby music. It's some of the best music, so that would make me happy. Alrighty, I'm glad that we got that insight. Yeah, I think like my biggest thing is I think that Elden Ring is going to win Game of the Year, and then I think that God of War is going to hit best narrative, which is I think what they want.
I could see that.
I think I'm not that they wouldn't want Game of the Year, but I think that they want best narrative. So.
It's hard to compete with Elden Ring.
Yes,
I could very easily find myself playing Ragnarok and thinking it's the better game, but I think in terms of impact, Elden Ring is kind of went stratospheric this year. And even if Ragnarok is like somehow even better than 2018, I don't see it necessarily rocket fueling that high up.
I don't think it can eclipse the Elden Ring experience. And it's not like that's not a shot at God of War. It's more of just like that's just how expansive Elden Ring was. So I just don't think that that's like I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Elden Ring will just like absolutely get dunked on by Ragnarok, but I don't think so. So, which one are you wanting to tackle next, Taylor?
I think we'll do one more. Yeah. Are there any video games that you want to be converted into a book that were not a book prior?
I'll go first because I thought of the question and I really want to see this.
Yeah.
Bloodborne.
Give me
please.
Okay.
Okay.
Bloodborne book would be so cool.
Yeah, emulating H.P. Lovecraft's racism that he puts into his original.
Yes, we're pulling straight from H.P. Lovecraft.
For those who don't know, H.P. Lovecraft heavily inspired a lot of the Eldritch horror genre, including Bloodborne, and he was an incredibly racist man.
So racist, like shockingly so. Even for his time, people are like, "Whoa, dude."
Yeah. But Bloodborne, you think, Brie?
Yeah, Bloodborne would be so cool, and I specifically mean like taking the storyline and that we don't really get because we do have the storyline, but it's more diegetic, like as far as the storytelling aspects of the game. I would really love to see just like the pure storytelling aspect where it's like we're not getting like that gameplay. Not that I don't love the gameplay because I very much do, but I just would love to see that experience of like. So you're in the hunter's dream and like what does that mean for you and what happens when you come out of the hunter's dream and stuff like that. Like that would be such a good book.
Yeah, I think I agree that would be awesome. What do you think, Sam? Stumped? Should I go?
No, I think I've got two that I think would kind of be self-evident in terms of when I say them, you'll understand why. But I was going to say any Bethesda IP, but I'll specifically say Fallout because I think Elder Scrolls, whilst it has unique elements, I think would step on too many toes in the fantasy genre, maybe. But Fallout is maybe a little bit more distinct. And I think some interesting stories could be told there. And then my other one, you talking about Half-Life Alyx and Valve triggered me. I thought, what about Portal?
Oh, that'd be great. Or some game
like
in
an
the
Aperture science-based book of like some random scientist in Aperture Labs experiencing something.
That would be great.
Under Cave Johnson.
That would make me so happy.
I love Cave Johnson. Yep, that's a great an Aperture or Black Mesa universe game.
Can you imagine getting the story behind like the cake too, like how they like introduce the cake in and stuff like that?
Yeah, and what's the name of the weird guy who's behind all the walls and stuff?
G-Man?
No. In Portal.
No, I'm serious.
Like
I know. It's just
the guy that was maybe I'm not familiar. All I know
he's like done all the scrawlings on the walls. I think he's like he's not
Oh.
Ratman or something, but it's something similar to that, where it's just
Yeah.
this deluded guy who might have been an ex-Aperture employee.
I wasn't sure.
I don't know his name, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. I just don't know the name.
Something with him as well might be interesting. Like, yeah, or just
Mhm.
backstory about, or even if it's just like a book and there's like a chapter where random Aperture scientists are hearing like scratches on the wall. And they're like, what the hell is that? And people who know. And
We
people
would
who
know.
don't,
Oh,
like,
I would be so scared for them. God. You're like, yo,
yeah.
check the wall. That is not a rat.
Yeah, they're definitely very loud. Not loud. And you're what's the word? Portal 2 takes a turn, for those who haven't played it, into some very short but sweet horror elements that make you question the entire game
Mhm.
in very swift fashion. But it's incredible. Tied for my favorite game. So please play that game.
So good.
But yeah, I think.
Motion sickness warning. If you get motion
Oh,
sick,
I haven't.
take
I
breaks.
didn't get motion sick in Portal 2, but I got motion sick
Woo!
in Doom 2016 when motion blur was on.
There's that one where you have to like launch yourself
Yep,
further and
I was
further.
thinking about that.
That one made me so sick.
Oof.
So sick. So
Sorry.
take breaks if you need, but it's still worth the time, I promise. Taylor, what's your answer?
I want to see the subspace emissary in a book. That's the story mode from Super Smash Bros. Brawl.
Yeah.
Especially like Taboo, Tabuu. Like, what are the origins of that antagonist?
Okay.
The nitty-gritty. I think that'd be really interesting. Another one, Fury, the indie game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'll be very interesting as a book. A very like nomadic bounty hunter type experience. That would be very interesting realized in a book. Maybe even as a graphic novel with how beautiful the art is in that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like a Legend of Zelda one would be cool too. Like an actual like tailored Legend of Zelda experience. Like that's like actual story. That would be really cool too.
Maybe make a pop-up Legend of Zelda book too.
That would be cool.
Yes. All right, awesome. So I think that about wraps it up. So yeah, awesome episode this week, guys. Thank you so much, viewers and audio listeners, for checking us out this week. And you can find us on it, No Limits, on youtube.com/SaveTheGameMedia, or on Twitter at SaveGameMedia, or check out our Patreon at SaveTheGameMedia. Links are all in the show notes, including the Discord as well if you want to hang out. Links are in the show notes and the YouTube description. And where can people find you, Brie?
You can find me at Fabulous Brianna. Pretty much anywhere. I'm so close to, I know I said it last week, but we're getting even closer to 50. And I'm planning on doing some sort of 50 followers on Twitch. So please follow me on Twitch.
Why do you need 50 followers on Twitch?
So I could monetize. Right now I've put a bunch of money into my setup, not only for like Twitch, but also for like the podcasting and stuff. So I put a lot of money into my setup, and I would like to recoup that money. I don't need it, but it would be cool. And I would also just in general, like, because if you monetize, you can also get like more followers and stuff like that. So it would be just really cool, because I would really love to hang out with people. So yeah, give me a follow. There's not very many people. There's a lot of people that watch and don't talk. So if you want to come talk to me, you can come, and I pretty much just chat with everybody in my chat. I've also played games with people from the chat. That's how Demon ended up in our Save the Game Media Discord.
Oh.
This Overlord Demon Sama from Twitch. So yeah, so just coming out with me, I'm happy to do like whatever. We just did like a hottest list, like a hottest tier list of random figures from history. So that was pretty fun. We can do stuff like that.
Awesome.
You should see the list. It's pretty good.
Where can people find you, Sam?
People can find me on Twitter at Sam Heaney. That's Heaney.
Awesome. And you guys can find me around the Discord. And I don't have Twitter.
I would never have guessed, Taylor.
Yeah, I know. And
I've been doing so good this week. I started interacting with Twitter. I haven't like tweeted or anything, but I like was liking stuff.
that's not a good thing.
I was like, good job, Brianna.
Not a
I
good
use
thing.
Twitter.
I feel like if I go on Twitter, I'll never stop.
Yeah, hey, you've got a strong resolve to fight off the urge.
Thanks. I already spent enough time on Discord. But
It's true.
anyway, you guys can check me out on the Discord at again, links in the show notes for the State of the Game Media Discord. You can talk to me there. I'm really active there, probably more often than I should be. But yeah. So until next time, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Peace.